Hello everyone, this is John Corcoran from California Law Report, calawreport.com, and today we're going to go over a quick video on how to draft a demand letter. Now, you may be wondering, what is a demand letter? Well, a demand letter is a succinct way of summing up legal issues or business disputes between two individuals, between yourself and another party, that explains the ways in which you were wronged and the ways in which you want to be made whole. Now, a demand letter is commonly used by attorneys. It's kind of the first shot across the bow, so to speak, that attorneys will send, law firms will send from one to another, or from a lawyer or a law firm to an individual who is a potential defendant in a lawsuit. But regular individuals, non-lawyers, can use them all the time in an efficient way, but the key is to draft them in a way that will ensure that you are taken seriously. Now, this video is going to cover a number of different things. First, what is a demand letter, what they are, and why you need to use them. Secondly, I'm going to give you some quick tips to increase your chances of success, because after all, the reason for sending a demand letter is to make sure that you are successful in achieving a certain desired result. You don't want to waste your time. Number three, I'm going to go into how you can explain your conflict in an efficient way. You want to make sure that you don't explain a bunch of things that are unnecessary or are not relevant to the dispute. And then finally, I'm going to give you a key tip which, in my opinion, can make a huge difference to receiving a quick response to your demand letter. Now, if you haven't maximized your screen yet as you're watching this video, I highly recommend that you do so, just so you can see this. It might be kind of difficult to see it otherwise. But basically here, on the left side of the screen, you see a demand letter that I have prepared on my law firm letterhead. So you see Corcoran Law Firm at the top, you see the address, you got the logo, you got the date, you got the address that it's being sent to, it says via U.S. mail. And now with the address, I just want to comment on that. If you're sending this to a business, you want to make sure that you don't just send it to a low-level employee who might say throw it in the trash hoping that it'll go away on its own. You want to make sure that it's sent to someone who's going to pay attention to it. Now, if it's a huge company like Microsoft, you probably don't want to send it to Bill Gates. But if it's a smaller company, you might send it to the CEO, you might send it to someone in a position of authority like a manager. Just make sure that you send it to someone who's going to receive it. And there's no harm in sending it to multiple individuals. I wouldn't send it to 20 different individuals, because then there's a tendency in an organization for everyone to pass the buck, or do people just think that it must be from a crazy person because they are sending it to 20 different people. So that's some thoughts behind who you send it to. Now, in the first paragraph, you want to include an introduction, and you want to explain in a succinct way the reason for why you're contacting. So in that first paragraph, I say that this law firm represents Mr. Henry Franklin, the client, in connection with claims against Smith Brothers for breach of contract, blah, blah, blah. And you also say, and briefly mention, that it's claims arising from Smith Brothers' failure to pay Mr. Franklin for services, so they know what you're writing about. And then in the next paragraph, you get into the factual summary. Here you want to recount the dates and events in a chronological order. You don't necessarily get into the most recent information quite yet, but just start with, if it's a breach of contract, or if it's a business-to-business situation, start with where the relationship began, or start with when the contract was signed. Explain how you or your client performed on their behalf, and then explain how the other side didn't perform on their behalf. And then the other thing you want to do is attach any relevant documents. So invoices or emails, if there's anything relevant, you might want to attach copies. That can only help your cause. Although there could be some strategic thought behind maybe not disclosing some information. Generally, if you want a quick resolution, it doesn't do any good to play hide the ball. If you've got a smoking gun, you might want to disclose it. Of course, if you're working with an attorney, you should talk to them first before you do any of this. So that's kind of the factual summaries section. Moving on to the next page, you've got a section for the law. Now, this is a simple contract dispute, so the law isn't too complex, but you want to cite any cases, any statutes that are relevant, and then analyze at the bottom of that paragraph or in a new paragraph the way in which the individual that you're writing to was not, or was it breached that law or in violation of that law in some way. And then finally, in the second to last paragraph here, you want to make the demand, what exactly you're asking of the person you're writing to. Is it a dollar amount? Is it some kind of action? Is it just for them to stop doing some particular thing? You want to explain that there. And in addition, you want to give them a deadline. This is very important. If you want them to act quickly, I suggest you give them a pretty tight deadline. Don't make it 3 days from now. I usually do about 3 weeks. That gives them time to decide if they're going to hire a lawyer or decide if they're just going to try and resolve this on their own. And if they do hire a lawyer, it gives them a little time to hire someone, and then that attorney can always call up you if you're an individual, or call up your attorney and say, I need a little extra time, I just got hired, and that's fine. You can always extend the deadline, but you want to make sure that you give them a tight deadline to begin with. And then finally, and this is really the key, in my opinion, to getting a quick response, is if you're going to be taken seriously, if you're serious about possibly filing a lawsuit, backing this up with litigation, then attach a copy of the complaint which you're prepared to file. Now, this shows them that you are to be taken seriously. All you need to do with that complaint is walk on down to the courthouse, pay the filing fee, and file your complaint. It really has a tendency of resulting in the individual that you're writing to taking it quite seriously when you have a complaint attached. And then finally, friendly little at the end, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. You'd rather that they, of course, contact you and talk to you first, rather than doing something like running off and declaring bankruptcy, which would not be a desired result, not be a good result in most instances. And now, if the damages section here, where you explain at the top of the paragraph that begins "demand is hereby made," if it's a little confusing to calculate, you might want to break that out a little bit and explain exactly how those damages are calculated. And you want to make sure that you're only including damages that are really related to this dispute. You know, if there's something completely unrelated, you don't want to throw that in there to make sure that you're taken seriously. And one other tip I wanted to give was just related to the law section. There's a lot of sources out there for where you can get law to back up your position. First, of course, is consulting an attorney. If you don't have the money to hire a lawyer for a long-term engagement, a lot of lawyers will allow you to pay them for a one-time fee, an hour of their time to consult with them. There's local law libraries. There's plenty of resources on the internet, blogs like my own, the California Law Report, that you can find good law that you can insert in there. So basically, that's about it. If you have any more questions, or if you're looking for more advice, please check out California Law Report. That's at calawreport.com. And thanks for watching.